Good evening, everybody. It is the Safety and the Sportswriter show with Knoxville Nate and Big Joe as we get ready to talk to you about the world of sports, specifically the NFL. We have a lot to go over tonight. We'll touch on even a little NCAA maybe when we get there. I'm wearing my Notre Dame hockey shirt.
I like that.
As we get ready to talk to you about the world of sports at large. But we're going to start out in Hollywood. I have to start out with my not even a take because everybody knows about the Will Smith, Chris Rock uproar. But the thing that got me, Nate, and it happens all the time when you have something like this happen, and all the big badass former athletes on their shows the next day have to explain how Will Smith would not have gotten away with it with them. And I understand, but who's asking them? I mean, did they really think Will Smith would have crept up on them? Or I mean, it just we know you're big, bad, and tough. We know you wouldn't let anybody get away with it, but you don't have to say it. It's just ridiculous, and the fact that sports shows were talking about it the next day. I know it's news, but to the whole day to drag it out and everybody had to comment on it, it was an embarrassment. But it was an embarrassment for Hollywood, and it was an embarrassment for the two people involved and everybody else. But
it's an embarrassment to our society that this guy goes up on stage, slaps a comedian for making a joke, and then nothing happens. Apparently the Academy announced today that they told him to leave, and then he said no, and so they just let him stay. And then
in
the front row, and then he accepts the award later and starts crying and talking about how his relationship with God has gotten him to where he is. And I'm like, you just slapped the shit out of this guy 30 minutes ago in front of a million people. I mean, let me tell you this. I get it. Like, people are like, oh, what if that guy said that about your wife, or what about that? First off, the joke wasn't that bad. Second off, I mean, even if you're upset, you can't go up on stage in front of a billion people and slap some dude in the face. I mean, that doesn't send the right message. That's not, that's just not how that's not how you handle things. And so I know my wife's really mad at me for my stance on it, but I just thought it was ridiculous because you just can't do that. You can't go up and hit somebody in the face on worldwide live television.
Well, and there's so many takes to this. First of all, it's Chris Rock. Okay,
yeah.
Chris Rock. This is his act. This is his act. Okay.
Yeah. If you can't handle Chris Rock making fun of you, then don't go, because that's what he's going to do. And
not to was it a bad joke? It was a bad joke, but I've heard bad jokes before. I mean, as you've heard it many times with a comedian will say a joke and then come out with, oh, too soon. I mean, whatever it is. But I mean, also, not to be critical of her, but she has her own podcast where she airs people's personal business that maybe should be kept private. The red top table or whatever, where she's telling her business and everybody else's business live on podcasts. So I mean, when does the line extend? When does the line get detracted?
She can talk about anybody else's life, but once somebody says something about her, then it's all over. And my favorite thing was, if you watch the video of it closely, Will Smith was laughing until he saw his wife's face.
Well, yeah,
and then you can see that obviously their relationship, as has been well documented, is up and down. And I think he's lost it. And I feel bad for both of them, but you just can't do that, man. That's not how, that's not how you're supposed to behave. And I'm glad my daughter wasn't watching it, because she'd be like, what is that? That's how I'm supposed to act, Daddy? And I'm going to be like, no.
And it's their night of glory. And now that's what it's going to be known for. And Chris Rock really said afterwards, he goes, well, now we know what everybody talking about, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just.
Well, actually, I thought Chris Rock handled it pretty well, to be honest.
I think
for getting smacked in the face.
Yeah.
And then just kind of being like, wow. And I thought that was probably one of the best acting jobs he'd ever done, of trying to act like it was all good. Yeah.
So. Anyways, I guess he was on stage in Boston last night. Nothing big happened there, but I hear his ticket sales are going through the roof now. So in a way,
Hey, any publicity is good publicity. Even getting smacked in the face is apparently good for your career. So
Yeah.
maybe I should have some coming on this show and just smack me in the face, and we'll be good.
Well, and then let's get to what we really talk about. And last night I was doing my my trivia, and got off when the contest was over, and I look up and I see Bruce Arians retires, and I was like, "What the?" I mean, this NFL offseason has been the most shocking, I think, when you in terms of players relocating, star players relocating, um, star players retiring, then unretiring, and then their coach retires. I mean, I didn't know what to make of it. What were your first thoughts when Arians made his announcement?
As I mentioned to you off air, the timing of it was what really threw me off. I mean, if he had retired after the season, or if he had retired after Tom Brady came out and said he was retiring, I would have thought nothing of it. But the fact that Tom Brady announced he was coming back, a week ago, Bruce Arians was at the combine talking about how excited he was about this upcoming season. And fast forward, 9 days later, 8 days later, and all of a sudden he's retiring. I mean, I just that's what really kind of shocked me. And I listened to the press conference today with Todd Bowles, and also heard him on several post press conference interviews, and he said he was shocked, and he thought that there was something wrong with Bruce's health, or something had happened with him personally, and so he was really shocked. And he found out, he said, on Monday night or Tuesday, I guess, and they kind of told Todd first so that he had a chance to kind of absorb it. But yeah, it was really shocking to me. I mean, why you're trying to run this thing back one more time? You've got essentially the entire team back. You've got the entire coaching staff back. Why remove the guy calling the shots? I mean, that doesn't make any sense if you're really trying to win a Super Bowl.
The only thing that comes to mind for me is I know Bruce Arians really is loyal to Todd Bowles. And I think my speculation is I think he got a bad deal with the Jets. You and I both agree he got a bad deal with the Jets.
I agree.
And I think when he didn't get a chance this time around, I think Bruce Arians, he's got his money, he's got his title, he's got everything. I think he wanted to see Todd Bowles get a shot where in a place where he could set it up perfectly for him, where he could walk in, have Tom Brady as his quarterback, have all those pieces, like you said, in place, a coaching staff, the team, and plus Bruce Arians could be upstairs watching his back, protecting him, maybe helping him out a little bit when he needs some counsel or mentoring. That's the only thing that comes to mind for me as to why Bruce Arians would do this. I mean, the thing about Bruce Arians that people forget is, even though in the public consciousness, he's only been known for about a decade or 12 years. The man is, 70-something years old?
Yeah, he is pretty old, and he's had some health issues. Remember, he tore his Achilles last year.
Yeah.
And was having trouble getting around and all that. And I understand that. He loves Todd Bowles. And you know what? I love Todd Bowles. I think he's a tremendous coach. And to be honest, I felt like Todd Bowles was the reason they won that Super Bowl. You take Todd Bowles out of that Green Bay game, and I think Green Bay wins. You take Todd Bowles out of that Super Bowl, and I think the Chiefs win. I mean, as me and you talked about when we were on several different pre-game shows prior to the Super Bowl, and I predicted it. I said this game is going to be won by Todd Bowles and also Devin White and the defense of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it was. So I have no problem with Todd Bowles taking over. I have no problem with him being a head coach again. I have no problem with any of this. It's just the timing of it is really, really strange and confusing.
And of course, it starts the speculation. Now, is Brady going to have to be traded somewhere else? Is this going to happen? Is that going to happen? I mean, let the wheels stop before you start spinning it again. Let's I'm sure that If Bowles was told first, I'm sure Brady was told second. That this was going to happen. I'm sure Bruce Arians and the general manager and the owner were right on the phone to Brady saying this is what's going to happen. So I'm sure, I know people are giving their speculation that it was orchestrated by Brady. I don't think it was orchestrated by Brady. I think it was orchestrated by Arians. But I'm sure Brady had to give his stamp of approval.
No, I agree with that. But it is kind of weird that all the stories came out last week about Tom Brady potentially going to Miami. And then, then this happens right afterwards. And, in any other year, I would call, bullshit on that. And I would say, I don't believe it. But, after sitting here throughout this offseason, who knows what's going to happen? I was on Twitter 2 days ago, and this guy posted this article about, I saw it. I just wasn't paying attention. I looked down, it said Kyler Murray traded to the Panthers and for this, and this. Said he didn't want that, they couldn't get the extension done with the Cardinals, and he's moving on. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, this just keeps getting crazier. And then I looked down, and it was some douchebag who it was made up. But I believed it because this season and this offseason has been so nuts that it plays right in with the narrative of everything else that's gone on. So,
I mean, in general, whatever sport you're talking about, outside of any sport, I'm going to say, I'm talking about the power of the head coach and the power of the coaches are being neutered. The stars kind of rule the roost, and the GMs and mostly the owners control everything else. And the coaches, they maybe for the 60 minutes of the week or maybe for practice, they're in charge. But for most of the decision making, I'm telling you, the more I look at whether it be baseball, whether it be football, especially basketball, the coach kind of becomes a figurehead at times. I mean, more like a mouthpiece to talk to the press and give a good face to it. I don't know how much they really have in to say, especially with personnel decisions anymore. I don't know if they have that much anymore.
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I mean, I can tell you this, that the structure of the NFL is definitely changed forever, simply by Mr. Haslam working that contract the way it is. I mean, there has never been a contract in the history of the National Football League where a guy gets a 100% guaranteed contract, especially a guy who hasn't played a game in over a year, especially a guy who the last time he did play was 4-12 and has 22 civil lawsuits of sexual assault against him. I mean, nothing makes any sense, but that makes the least amount of sense of anything. And all it does really is make himself look dumb, because this is the guy who went all in on Baker Mayfield and drafted him number 1 overall when no one else really had him rated that high. And he goes out and loves the guy, brings him into his franchise, makes him his franchise quarterback, essentially, drafts him number 1. And then, 4 years later, he's burying the guy in a grave. I mean, it just shows how little this guy knows about football and how much sense he lacks on managing a football team.
And we might as well go right to that. I mean, right now, Baker Mayfield's in what turns out to be the NFL gulag because apparently he's making too much money to get traded, but he's not good enough quarterback to be for the Cleveland Browns, but they're going to keep him around and pay him anyways. And this goes back to what we talked about before we came on the air tonight. When you look at the craziness of Deshaun Watson last year getting paid $18 million to sit home for a team that had no replacement. He wasn't suspended. There was no reason for him to sit out the whole year and not get traded or something. And it makes no sense at all. I mean, what they did, maybe in the long run now, what they got back from the Browns, maybe they think that's the best deal they could make or could have made. But right now, when you look at it, Baker Mayfield day by day becomes more of a sympathetic figure. I've always liked Baker. I don't care. I think he's cocky. He's this. He's that. The kid's been a winner wherever he's been. He's had to overcome adversity to get where he's been, and for some reason everybody hates him, which I just don't get.
Well, he was the darling. 2 years ago, he was on every single commercial on TV, and everybody loved him. And he was the first quarterback to lead the Browns to a playoff victory since 1994. And let's be honest, man, he won 12 games and looked good doing it. And then last year, me and you talked at nauseum about what the hell was going on, because this guy was obviously hurt. This guy could not do the things that he normally did because of the injury. He couldn't step into a throw. And it was like, okay, this guy's hurt. Get him off the field. Put in Case Keenum, who you signed for this exact reason, and get your guy healthy. But instead, they left him out on the field, and obviously he wasn't right, and things just went south. And then it was like, okay, let's just blame everything that's gone wrong this entire season on this guy, and let's move completely on and bury him in the dirt. And I'm not quite sure why that was the idea, but that was the plan. And now, he's kind of in limbo because after this all happened after almost all the teams had made moves for quarterbacks, and everyone's focused on the draft right now. So no one's going to trade for Baker Mayfield at this point. Maybe if people miss out on a quarterback in the draft, essentially, I guess I could see him getting the call. But he may just sit there the whole season on the Browns roster. I mean, I in the past I would say that wouldn't happen, but after watching what we did last year with Deshaun Watson, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's just beyond bizarre. I mean, especially when you look at Seattle. I mean, you're Pete Carroll, and you're closer to the end than you are to the beginning, and you're going into the season with Drew Lock and Geno Smith as your quarterbacks. I mean, and now, I mean, you have a trio of great receivers up there with nobody to throw them the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get it. I mean, you can't be drafting a quarterback in Seattle. I mean, I guess maybe that's what they're thinking, because they haven't traded for Baker. But why would you not bring Baker into the fold and at least let him compete with Drew Lock after, once he's healthy, and put the best guy in the field? Because I can tell you right now, you're not going to win more than 5 games with Geno Smith as your starter, and if that, and Drew Lock maybe not as many, if not less. So they don't have their starting quarterback on their roster. And I got to be honest with you, I know that some of these guys in this 2022 draft are going to get picked potentially in the first or the second round, just essentially out of need. But none of those guys are first-round draft picks, and I don't have a first-round grade on any one of them.
No, not at all. This is not a quarterback-friendly draft. And the other thing about Baker, the reason it makes more sense for the Browns is you get him out of your conference, far away from you as possible. So you're only going to face him once every 3 years.
If you think he's such garbage and you're so done with him, and you have no qualms about it, why not release him? Why not trade him for whatever you can get? I just don't understand what they're hanging on to him for, and why they're prolonging this and trying to make the guy suffer. Like, this guy won you a playoff game. This guy fought for your franchise. Like, at least give him a chance to play again in this league. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, there's just craziness there, and we're gonna have to see what happens. Hopefully for his sake, he gets rectified. Like I said, I know that public opinion is against this kid. I don't know why. His narrative has always been good to me. Is he cocky? Yeah, he's cocky. Okay. Brett Favre was cocky, but he was a gunslinger. I mean, who was cockier than Brett Favre? But everybody loved him.
Every quarterback in the NFL is cocky. I mean, if you're not cocky, then you're probably not going to be successul. But I don't get it. I don't understand how it goes from everybody loves this guy to everybody hates this guy in a short time. And the Browns struggled last year in multiple facets, And was he good? No. But there was a lot of problems on that team, and to just blame everything on Baker is very confusing to me. But we did have a signing a few minutes ago. I don't know if you saw it, but we did get some breaking news. We've got a big time player going to a team out west, and that is a guy who was already out west, and that is Bobby Wagner.
Yeah, I saw that. I did see
signed
that
with the Rams, and I don't that's another thing I've got to look at, because it says the deal was 5 years, $50 million with the potential to reach $65 million with incentives, and I'm like, how can the Rams sign this guy? I mean, the Rams are up against the cap to begin with. And I didn't think they had it. I mean, I know Whitworth retired. I know they're out from under the Gurley contract and the Brandon Cooks contract, but they still got Matt Stafford. They've still got Jalen Ramsey. They've still got Aaron Donald. They've still got a bunch of dead money. And how they were able to get this done, I don't know. But, the rich get richer, I guess.
Yeah, it's a good move for as a player-wise, it's a good move for the Rams. He fits right in there, and he'll be good there. But the other one you got to think about is, what does this say about OBJ? Where's the money going to be for him?
Yeah, I mean, they're still talking about how they, are potentially going to bring him back, and I don't see, unless he gives them some huge discount, I don't see how they're going to be able to do that. I really don't. I mean, this is a team that as of today has less than $7 or $8 million in total cap space, and that's with all the moves they've made to clear room for Bobby Wagner. So I don't see how they would go about signing him. But
I don't see OBJ going for that much of a discount. That's.
I don't need. This is a guy that made $21 million the year previous, so I really don't see him taking $8 million to come back to the Rams. But as I said, this is I didn't predict any of these things that have happened, so who knows?
No, the only reason he would take that is if no one has any interest in him at all because of that knee, and no one knows what's going to happen with that and when he'll be ready. Even though, from what we've seen, with what they've done in the technology, those knee injuries don't keep people down long anymore. They'll have you back up and running in 8 months. The other thing was Irsay came out and had some pointed comments on Carson Wentz. I don't know if you saw that.
I did.
I know Carson. You've never been a big fan of Carson, but it's another one in the trend of that goes with everything we've been talking about so far tonight. Is why he felt the need. He just got Matt Ryan. You should be celebrating Matt Ryan, and why are you worried about Carson Wentz? He's not on your team anymore. You got rid of him, and you've got an upgrade in everybody's mind at quarterback. And here's a guy who's had his own problems. You know what I mean? Off the field with some addiction problems and stuff like that. It's like, why do you feel the need to bring attention to yourself?
Yeah, I don't know. I really, once again, this is kind of like going back to the Browns situation. You're the team that went out and traded for this guy after all the issues he had in Philadelphia and all the problems that the Eagles had with Carson Wentz at the position. You're the guy that went out and got him and traded away a bunch of capital and paid him $30-something million to be your quarterback last year. And now you're saying that it was a mistake. Well, all that does is make you look stupid, because there was nobody else really hammering on the Eagles' door to bring Wentz in. And they were so elated that the Colts came a-calling and took him off their books. So, I don't really understand those comments. Let it go. It's something that didn't need to be said at all. And, if he really does suck, then we'll see it in Washington next year. And you don't need to utter a word. But, he also came out and bashed the Jacksonville Jaguars, which I don't know if you saw that. But
I didn't miss that comment.
Yeah, he said, no disrespect to Jacksonville, but I mean, they are the worst team in the league. You play well and hard for the first quarter, and they're looking in the locker room and cleaned it out. I've never seen like that in my life. And, he said, your guy's got to pick you up and carry you through Jacksonville, has to do it. So then you're acting like you're basically getting rid of your quarterback because of one game. So that I don't understand. Now I agree with him that Jacksonville is the laughing stock of the NFL, but once again, everybody knows that they've won 10. They've lost 10 games or more. 10 out of the last 11 years, or I think it's 11 out of 12 now. So you're not breaking any news by telling people that Jacksonville sucks, but why you would say that and give them a team in your division bulletin board material for 2 games next year, I don't understand either.
Yeah, especially when the Colts, they had a great run during the Peyton Manning era, got them a Super Bowl victory. Andrew Luck, even though they didn't win a lot, they got to the playoffs, and he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And since Wright got there, they've been competitive. But I mean, it's not like they're the Patriots. It's not like they got 9 Super Bowls, Jim. So, and you're still hated in Baltimore. You can't go back to that town for the way you moved out of town. So, shut up already.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
exactly.
It's like we were saying, the new brand of owners that are taking over and becoming part of sports is, I think they're money rich, but this is the whether they're true good businessmen or, like you said with Haslam, inherited well. They don't distinguish themselves in the NFL because they think they know how to run these franchises, and there's a lot more moving parts than running a regular business out there. And I think the smart ones put together a team that run it for them and stay out of their way.
Yeah.
And these other guys got to have their hand in the pot and stir it, and they always stir it wrong. So,
well, no, it's like some of these owners, they feel like they're on a reality television show. Like they use their billions to make themselves a pop culture icon, so to speak, like Jerry Jones has done, like right. Jim Irsay is trying to do, like Haslam's trying to do. They want to make themselves relevant in mainstream pop culture by being the owner of the team, and so they have to involve themselves with everything. The really good owners, if you've seen, they hire somebody to handle the football operations. Now they oversee everything,
yeah.
and this stuff all starts at the top, and they make sure that the team is run correctly. That is their job. Right. But going out and making these decisions, and I was listening to the press conference where Jimmy and Dee were talking about how they talk to their daughters about whether they should go out and do this Deshaun Watson thing. And I'm like, what are you talking about? First off, and second off, if that is true, why would they say, yeah, go get this guy? I mean, whether he's guilty or not, like that's not something that you want to bring to your team. Somebody that's got that hanging over him, and I could see this blowing up in his face really, really quickly.
Well, the only thing I have to say to them about that, if they really were concerned enough to ask their daughters that question, the answer is implied in the question.
Yeah.
No.
Bingo.
It's like, if you have to ask that question, then you're doing wrong. So
right. And you're not going after the right guy if you have to ask your daughter if it's okay to sign the guy.
And how she feels about it as a young lady or a woman or whatever. How does that make her feel?
Yeah, then you're not getting the right guy. I mean, go out and sign Jimmy Garoppolo, and bring him into the fold. That would make a lot more sense.
Exactly. So, anyways, we got any other signings we want to go over? Because I got some power rankings I want to go over here tonight too.
That's the biggest one for today. I just wanted to break that news because I have always been a big Bobby Wagner fan, and I think he's got some left in the tank. And then we did have another re-sign a couple minutes ago. Is Patrick Peterson re-signed with the Vikings? They kind of brought him in on a 1-year deal, thinking this guy could potentially help us as a piece of our depth at corner, and he ended up being the best corner on their team, which doesn't say much for the rest of their corners, but why not bring him back and hope he can do some magic one more year.
You can't yell about it and having good experience in a defensive backfield. So, anyways, the power rankings right now as they sit, and I think this was before some of these. Of course, number 1 is the Rams. Everybody's going to be on the Rams bandwagon. Not much to dispute with that, especially with the Wagner pickup. What do you think about that?
I mean, you to be the champ, you got to beat the champ. So I've got no problem with throwing them at the top. I mean, Matt Stafford obviously played well last year with bringing back Cam Akers, as well as the other backs they have. I think, you're going to be all right. The question is, to me, the biggest question is, can Allen Robinson, really hold up and have a productive year all year long? Because, no Robert Woods, potentially no OBJ. Really, all that you have at the wide receiver position besides Cooper Kupp is going to be, that guy. And that concerns me a little bit. I'm just not as high on Allen Robinson as I used to be. I mean, you've got Van Jefferson, who to me is maybe a decent 2, but really a 3. And so you're going to be counting on Allen Robinson hard to help you move the football. So we'll see how that plays out. I think that's why they're open to bringing back OBJ, because I'm not sure they're sold on, they went out and signed him, but I don't know if they're 100% sold on him. I certainly am not.
Number 2, they've got the Bengals, and the reason is the free agency moves they made on the offensive line.
Yeah, I like what they did on the line. I like the La'el Collins pickup. That really helps them a lot, because Isaiah Prince was a disaster at right tackle. I also like the Ted Karras move, and the Alex Kappa move. I mean, they've upgraded the line, but they're not going to sneak up on anybody next year, and that's my biggest thing with the Bengals. They're going to get everybody's best shot. Everybody's going to want to take them down and take them out, and I think it's going to be very hard for them to sustain the success they had last year.
Yeah, I think that the offensive line was the thing that you especially criticized all years long. So they did address that, and they didn't have to address it in the draft, which opens up their options to look at the draft and look at maybe fill in some other spots. The big question is, for the Bengals, I think it's a little high to have them at number 2.
Yeah.
But their coaching staff, I mean, everything broke perfectly for them. And also, not that I'm rooting against the kid, but that field goal kicker was so on the money, except for the Packer game.
Yeah.
And so clutch. And these field goal kickers, it's hard to be Adam Vinatieri, to be that consistent throughout your career. They tend to stick for a while, have 2 or 3 good years, then go into this. Very infrequently do you get like an Adam Vinatieri and a Gutskowski or those guys. So, and they depended on their field goal kicker so much last year. He's a rookie, or he'll be a second-year player. He really worries me that he can keep up what he did this first year.
Yeah, no, I mean, everything went right for them last year, especially down the stretch. So, let's be honest. I mean, it's going to be very hard to duplicate that. And then to me, I'll let you read off the list here, but to me, the number 2 team is definitely the Buffalo Bills, in my opinion.
Well, that's who's next. Is they got him to number 3, and I'm hard pressed to disagree with you. You add Von Miller. They made it. They picked up Jamison Crowder, who's going to be with Cole Beasley gone. He fits in there nicely.
I think he's an upgrade, to be honest with you.
Well, I would like Cole Beasley, but I think that's because my opinion, because Cole Beasley beat the Giants when he was with Dallas almost by himself.
Well, yeah, but Cole Beasley 3 years ago and Cole Beasley last year is 2 different things.
True.
And Jamison Crowder is a tough little SOB. And you got to remember that not only do they have Gabriel Davis, who had 4 touchdowns in 1 playoff game, and not only do they have Stephon Diggs, one of the best wide receivers in the league, but now they've got Jamison Crowder, Dawson Knox, and Isaiah McKenzie as a 5th option. And I loved the pickup of OJ Howard. No one's really talking about it, right. But this is a guy coming out of the in the draft a few years ago, was one of the most talented tight ends in the entire country from Alabama. Injuries have plagued his career, but if this guy can stay healthy, 1-2 punch of Dawson Knox and OJ Howard could be unstoppable.
Yeah, and a couple of years of working with Gronkowski doesn't hurt for a tight end to learn from.
Exactly.
So and their coaching staff is top notch. Their front office is top notch, so they're going to add a few more pieces in the draft. and they've been knocking on the door. I mean, does Von Miller give them the one thing they were probably missing to stop Kansas City? Probably. So yeah, I think that I would flip flop those two positions, and maybe even put somebody else ahead of the Bengals right now. But I agree with you. The Bills are there. Number 4, they got the Bucs. Of course, the Brady had already unretired, but Arians has retired, and it's gonna be really interesting. We did a lot on that already. The Bucs, especially in that division. I mean, Carolina, a mess. Atlanta, a mess. And New Orleans, they got Jameis Winston back, but we don't know. So, I mean, if they don't win 11 games at least, just on what they have compared to the rest of their division, they should go 6-0 in their division.
I agree. I hate Tom Brady, but I got to be honest. I think he saw this division and was like, man, why would I not come back? I mean, Matt Ryan's gone. Sean Payton is gone. I mean, me, I like Jameis, and I think Jameis had a good season last year, but that was Jameis with Sean Payton. You take Sean Payton out of the equation, and I think Jameis could go the other direction. I know they signed Andy Dalton, but he's worse than Jameis. And I think that, Atlanta, New Orleans, both those teams are going to struggle, and Carolina might be worse than both of them. So they're definitely going to win the division and walk right into the playoffs. So I think you can put them right where they are.
Yeah, they might have home field advantage by default.
Yeah, right.
Number 5, they got the Packers. This is a team, again, here's another team. Their division is set up right for them right now. Transition year in Chicago. Detroit still eternally rebuilding. Transition year in Minnesota. You have the reigning MVP back. You lost Adams. But it's another one where you look at that division and go, could go 6-0, should go 4-2 in their division.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not as sold on the Packers. I mean, I think, they've still got some work to do. Obviously, I mean, Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb, and Rico Gafford do not really scare me from the wide receiver position. And you think about last year with any time they had to have a big play, I mean, Devontae Adams made it.
Yeah.
And I just think that's going to be a huge, huge loss. And, we'll see. We'll see how healthy they are. But, they also lost Darius Smith. He's not coming back. I'm not sure about this team without him. And I think those other teams in the division are going to be better. I think Detroit's going to be better. I think Minnesota's going to be better. And I definitely think Chicago's going to be better now that they got rid of that idiot of a head coach.
No, I mean,
no offense.
No, I know. Addition by subtraction there, but I
mean, Matt Nagy. It was like, what can I do to f up this game plan? I mean, I know what I can do. Let's run Justin Fields out there when I haven't given him any first team reps the entire offseason or this week. Let's run him out there and start him against Cleveland and see if I can get his leg broken and have him sacked 9 times. I mean, that guy just was an idiot. So they definitely are going to be better just for the fact that he's gone.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I got to root for Dan Campbell because I thought he really held that team together in a situation. And, of course, I feel sorry for Jared Goff getting sent to Detroit after doing nothing wrong. The only thing, it's so bad. It's so insane when you look at quarterbacks and how they're rated today, knowing that everybody's on the Aaron Rodgers, Pat Mahomes, Brady scale, and there's not too many people that are there yet. And it's like everybody else. If you're not that, you suck. Get out of here. Yeah. So we'll see. And let's go on to the next one, which is the Chargers, they've been busy. They have been busy. And they rate the next two. It's going to be the Chargers followed by the Chiefs. We might as well look at both of them right now. Chargers have been busy while the Chiefs made maybe the most shocking move of the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I'm ready to move the Chargers past the Chiefs yet. I think you kind of have to earn that. But I do like a lot of the moves they made. First off, let's give the Chargers some credit for going out and taking the best tackle in the draft last year in Rashawn Slater. Other teams kind of moved off of him and thought he might be a guard. But let's be honest, the guy played left tackle and was lights out. And they also took Joshua Palmer in the late rounds, who ended up being a pretty good player for them, as well as Larry Roundtree as a late pick. So I really like what they've done in the draft recently. And I thought that the re-signing of Mike Williams was huge. And then, we know what they've done. Trading for Khalil Mack is a difference maker. I think that's going to upgrade their team, bringing back Derwin James, signing J.C. Jackson. I like what they've done, but let's beat the champ to be the champ. I need to see them beat the Chiefs before I can sit here and tell you that they're better than them.
And okay, so we just talked about the Chiefs. Tyreek Hill is going to be a big. It's going to be a difference maker in a lot of ways, but Mahomes was going to lose him at some point, and have to do it without him. So Andy Reid usually will find a way in a very creative way to make his offense offensive.
Well, they signed Orlando Brown, which I really liked. That guy played really well for them. They've got Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, who they drafted last year. The Chiefs, that is who I'm talking about. And then, they went out and signed Ronald Jones from the Buccaneers, who I like a lot. And then they also signed Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. They've got Cornell Powell. They've got Josh Gordon. They've got Darius Fountain. They've got McCole Hardman, Travis Kelce, Blake Bell, Noah Gray. I mean, I like their weapons, even without Tyreek Hill. I still think this offense is going to roll.
And then right behind them, they got the Colts, who we talked about. Matt Ryan is a definite upgrade if he stays healthy with that running game. And they're ahead of the Titans on this performance chart. What do you think about that?
Right now I've got to give the nod to the Colts. I like how the Titans brought back Harold Landry. I think that was huge for their pass rush. They need to get more out of the guy they brought in from Pittsburgh the year before, Bud Dupree. He needs to have a bigger season. But I like their linebackers, Harold Landry, David Long, and Zach Cunningham, and Bud Dupree. All those guys are pretty good. I like the defense. I like Caleb Farley stepping into a role. They signed Amani Hooker. They've still got Christian Fulton and Kevin Byard. So I like their defense, but I'm not 100% sold on this offense. I mean, they're only going to go as far as Ryan Tannehill can take them. And, as we saw, the experiment with Julio Jones was an utter failure. So, they signed Robert Woods. They had a nice pickup in Westbrook Keene that played pretty well last year. And they also signed Austin Hooper. But does that fix all their offensive problems? I don't know. We're going to see. And I do think that I give a slight edge to the Colts right now, but we'll have to see what all these guys do in the draft.
Yeah, they have the Titans sitting at 11 on this. So Colts at 8, Titans at 11. Raiders come in at 9, and the Patriots come in at 10 here. So they're putting Josh McDaniel up ahead of his old coach.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that. I think people are kind of counting the Patriots out because they've been quiet in this offseason. But I think that Bill Belichick, is happy with his team. I think he feels good about what they got last year and what they have picked up, in free agency last year, and also what they got in the draft. And I think he's got some tricks up his sleeve for all these people that think that the Patriots are not going to get out of this division. I wouldn't count them out yet, and I definitely wouldn't put Josh McDaniels, who utterly failed in his last coaching stop in Denver. I don't think I would take and put the student over the teacher just yet.
Yeah, especially when the Raiders are in the Chiefs the Chiefs and Chargers division. So
yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah. Right behind them, we got the 12 at 12 and 13. Got the Ravens and the Browns. Ravens at 12, Browns at 13. I think everybody's kind of hedging their bets. I think the Browns would be up higher if they knew Deshaun Watson wasn't getting suspended. I think people are hedging their bets here. But I mean, the roster, even though the Browns have given everybody, the general public, every reason to hate them, there's no disputing they do have some talent on that roster.
They do, but do they have more talent than the Baltimore Ravens? I'm not sure. I mean, I think people forget that the Ravens, were 8-3 last year, even without anybody in their backfield. And, J.K. Dobbins went down preseason, Gus Edwards down in preseason, Justice Hill went down in preseason. So they were down 3 running backs before the season started. And then their 4th running back, Tyson Williams, went on IR. This team had 27 guys on injured reserve before the last week of the season. So I expect the Ravens to come back with a vengeance. I think they're going to need to add some pieces in the draft, but I expect them to do that. This is a team that always drafts well. And with the emergence of Rashad Bateman last year, they might actually have a wide receiver so they don't have to throw it to the damn tight end every time.
That's for sure. At 14, you got the Niners, who is another team where they hate their quarterback, but they can't seem to move on from him. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, they're sold on Trey Lance, and I don't know what Jimmy Garoppolo has done so badly, but I guess, maybe he didn't date the owner's daughter or something. Who knows? But it's John Lynch, for all the good he's done in bringing the Niners back into relevance, I don't like what he's done the last couple of years handling this quarterback situation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get it. To me, I mean, Trey Lance is obviously not ready. If he was ready, he would have been the quarterback last year, but he wasn't. Jimmy Garoppolo was the quarterback, and he took him to the conference championship game. So I'm not sure. Obviously, they're not sure either. They would have already traded his ass. Right. It's a guy that's having off-season shoulder surgery, and they haven't even moved him. So I really think this is Jimmy's team, and I think hopefully he'll come back and be healthy because they need this guy. Trey Lance is not ready, and I don't see them, coming out of this division unless they've got Garoppolo still at quarterback.
And this might be the saddest part of this whole thing, even though I'm not for this team, but for the division they're in. The number 1 team in the NFC East, the Cowboys, at 15. The best team in the NFC East sits right on the borderline of mediocre, right in the middle of 32 teams.
Yeah, that is sad. And it's just weird to me how, people are really down on the Cowboys right now. I think people forget this team was 12-5 last year. I mean, I get it. They haven't had the most amazing offseason, but they're in a little bit of caps. They're in a little bit of a cap situation. And, they moved on from Cedric Wilson. But I got to be honest with you, and they moved on from Amari Cooper. But I like the James Washington pickup. I think that guy can do some things. He showed me some stuff in Pittsburgh, and I think he'll help this team. And they've already got they were able to bring back Dalton Schultz. They've got CeeDee Lamb. They've got Michael Gallup coming back, and they've got Dak Prescott, who's going to be another year removed from that injury, and that excites me.
Well, I think Dak is somebody who gets abused and shouldn't be. He's another guy who the way people treat quarterbacks these days, and they've always been treated tough. I love them when they're winning, hate them when they're losing. But I mean, Dak Prescott is a good quarterback. He's one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL, and yet, whenever it seems, people don't seem to they look for the downside of Dak a lot, and I get it because I hate the Cowboys too. But I mean, I just don't get why people are so critical of him.
I don't either. I mean, this guy is, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's paid as such, and I expect him to have a really, really good year. And, maybe with some of the expectations lowered a little bit, that'll help him. The only thing that really worries me is, replacing Randy Gregory with Dante Fowler Jr. That I think is problematic. Hopefully they're expecting to replace him with a group of guys, Terrell Basham, Chauncey Golston, Dorrance Armstrong, maybe those 4 guys together or 5 guys, whatever it may be, can replace the production. But you know what? I didn't really see the need to give that dude $70 million guaranteed. So I didn't have a huge problem with them doing it.
All right, we'll break the next teams in groups of 4. We get the Vikings, Saints, Broncos, and Eagles as the next 4 teams. You just said you think you expect the Vikings to be better than expected. The Saints got Jameis Winston back, but still, we were critical of them in their division. The Broncos, I mean, if Russell Wilson was in such a hurry to get out of Seattle and all it did was move him up to the 18th best team in the NFL, maybe not the greatest move in the world. And the Eagles coming off a playoff year, but still, do they have enough? What do you think about those 4 teams?
I think that Denver might be, underrated a little bit here. I mean, let's be honest, Russell Wilson, at least based on the trade, is a guy that's a difference maker. I mean, you wouldn't give up all that stuff if this guy couldn't make a big impact. And I like his weapons. I really think they should probably bring back the other running back because they've got Javonte Williams and what's the other guy's name that played for the
Chargers
out of the Wisconsin that's from the Chargers. Yeah. My mind's going blank on me, but they haven't signed him yet. And, they've got Mike Boone and Demaria Crockett and Javonte Williams, but I don't know if that does it for me in the backfield. I think they need to bring another back in there, but I like Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, and Tim Patrick. And they need to get a tight end in the draft and maybe upgrade this offensive line a little bit. But, let's be honest, this defense looked good last year, and they've got Bradley Chubb. They've got Randy Gregory now, and they brought in Ronald Darby, and they've got Patrick Surtain in year 2. So I expect this team to compete out there. It's just they're in a tough division, and that's why I think maybe that people are sleeping on them a little bit.
What about the Eagles? Your man Jalen Hurts. What do they have to do to put something around him?
I don't know. I don't understand the hatred for Jalen Hurts either. I mean, this is a guy who, basically got kicked out of Alabama for no reason, and now, he's getting ripped apart in Philadelphia when all he did was his first year as a starter lead him to the playoffs. And I'm sorry he lost to Tom Brady, but they need to improve this team in several areas, and not just blame everything on the quarterback. I think Jalen will be better in year 2 as a starter. I think Devontae Smith will be better. I think they picked up Zach Pascal, who I think is an upgrade. I still think they need a wide receiver. I mean, let's be honest, the Jalen Reagor experiment has to be over, right? I mean, that was one of the worst draft picks in the history of the draft. Move on from this guy. Cut him. Fire him. Kick him off the damn team. I don't care, but I don't want to see that guy on the field anymore because he sucks. And he's not even a good returner. So, I don't understand that at all. But I hope they upgrade the wide receiver position a little bit more because, I know the quarterback gets all the credit when they do well and he gets all the blame when they falter. But let's be honest, who the hell was he throwing to last year?
Yeah, he had to run. He had to do everything. I mean, they use a John Calipari statement I remember he made about Marcus Camby once where he said, "Don't tell me what he's not. Tell me what he is."
Yeah,
and that's too many times with Jalen Hurts. Is like you and I talked during the season. In the fourth quarter, he's still playing hard, no matter what the score is. The man, he's a 60-minute man, and he gives you his all. He's a leader. He's a class act, and I don't know why everybody. Well, Philadelphia, you were there, early in your career. You know what those people are like.
Yeah, I sure do. They're scary, is what they're like. This is a guy, his first year as a starter with a subpar roster around him and a first-year head coach, completed over 60% of his passes, threw for 3,000 yards, 16 touchdowns, 9 picks. That's not great, but this guy won games. I mean, that's what bothers me is why does he get no credit for the wins that they strung together down the stretch? Which got him into the playoffs. I mean, it's like he didn't even do that, which really, really perplexes me. But you know what? This guy's going to be their starting quarterback, so they better get used to it, and they better put some stuff around him because they can win with him. And I think that he's getting underrated. I like the fact that they're bringing back Fletcher Cox on a 1-year deal. They brought in Hassan Reddick, who I think upgrades them at the outside linebacker position. And they've got some more work to do in the secondary and the offensive line. But if they can do that, and if this coach can, improve as well, you got to remember this was a first-year head coach last year who I think got better as the year went on. I had a lot of questions about him at the beginning of the year, and I was kind of shocked to see him take over as the head coach. But I thought he did better job as the year went on, and I think that'll continue to happen.
Before we get into the bottom half, and we're not going to spend much time on them, 20 through 24, we'll look at. Starting with the Cardinals, a team who kind of trick or treat went to trick on Halloween last year and never stopped hemorrhaging. And they're ranked 20th here with what they've lost in free agency, with the Kyler Murray situation. You have to start, even though his name is not mentioned in the article here, you have to start wondering about Cliff Kingsbury and can he handle being, the head coach of a professional team. He wasn't that successful at Texas Tech to begin with.
No, and I think it shows you, in my opinion, when they win their first 10 games, and then they lost 5 of 6 down the stretch. That shows me that other teams made adjustments against him, and he wasn't able to counter that. And I do think that his coaching leaves a lot to be desired, especially in game situations. I think he's decent at picking out the right guys to put on the field, but that's the easy part. Making the decisions during the game to help your team win, that's what's difficult. And he definitely needs to get better. And in my opinion, he's kind of gotten a pass so far, especially with Kyler Murray not taking that next step. I mean, this guy was basically hired to bring along Kyler Murray, and it hasn't happened. Right. So why does he get a pass for it?
No, and they moved Josh Rosen, who I didn't like, but I mean, they moved to specifically to get Kyler Murray for him before he take the job. So there you go. 21-22, Dolphins at 21, Steelers at 22. The Dolphins, I think the Steelers are going to be better than the Dolphins, even with Mitch Trubisky. I just think Tomlin is a better coach, and can he get them above 8-8 next year? I don't know with Trubisky. I kind of have faith in that he will. Maybe the Steelers are a little bit lower than they should be. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about this Dolphins team. I mean, I know what I've got in Pittsburgh. I've got one of the best coaches in the NFL, in my opinion, in Mike Tomlin. I mean, these guys love playing for him. He's a great in-game coach. He's a great game planner. And, I don't know what they have in Miami. I mean, this Mike McDaniels, he could be good. He could have no idea what he's doing. And so I'm not ready to put the Dolphins ahead of the Steelers, in my opinion. I mean, I do like the moves they've made, especially at the running back position. They've upgraded considerably there, in my opinion, by bringing in Raheem Mostert. They brought in Chase Edmonds. Obviously, now they've got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, which is huge, in my opinion, because let's be honest, that receiver core was garbage last year, except for Waddle. So now they've got Tyreek Hill, they've got Jalen Waddle, they've got Cedric Wilson, they've got Preston Williams supposedly healthy. So I think the time is now for Tua. He's got to produce, and if he doesn't, I think they will have no problem putting Teddy Bridgewater into the game.
That's for sure. And then the last one we're really going to focus in on is the Commanders, the Washington team. We talked to Carson Wentz, but I mean, we know how you feel about their head coach. But I don't know. Dan Snyder, the things that happen with Dan Snyder never seem to work out for his team. 24 is you're on a bottom rung. What do you think about the Commanders?
I understand the ranking here. The defense did not play as expected last year. I mean, they just weren't as good as they were the year before. Chase Young, went down with the injury. The rest of the D-line did not dominate like they did in years previous. But, they picked up Jamin Davis. They've got Kendall Fuller, Bobby McCain, William Jackson all in the secondary. So I don't hate their secondary. They really need De'Ami Brown, their draft pick from last year out of North Carolina. He needs to step up, and they need Curtis Samuel to be healthy. I mean, Terry McLaurin's got to be tired of carrying this team on his back.
Mm-hmm.
And if the Commanders are going to have any success, they need Curtis Samuel to stay healthy and be on the damn field, and they need De'Ami Brown to do something. And then this offensive line's got to be better. And I like the combination of J.D. McKissick and Antonio Gibson, but is Carson Wentz an upgrade over Taylor Heineke? I don't know. I really don't know, and we'll find that out. But those two guys to me are kind of the same thing. They're guys that can win you a couple of games, but I just don't think either one of them can get you over the hump.
Didn't McKissick move on? Didn't they lose McKissick, I thought? Or am I wrong on that?
I believe they re-signed him. He was going to sign with another team, and then at the last minute, he decided to stay in Washington.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, he was. There were several teams that were interested.
Well, yeah, he's a good, useful player.
Yeah, he flipped back. He was originally headed to Buffalo, and then he at the last minute he flipped back and signed with Washington, and then Buffalo signed Duke Johnson.
All right, we'll just go over to the last bottom rung as a group here. Seahawks, we already talked about them. They're a mess. They seem to be the poor wide receivers are going to have nobody throwing to them up there. It's a shame to waste all that talent up there. The Jets made a few good pickups. Still, I don't know if they're going to their defense is going to be improved enough to help them out, and we'll see what Zach Wilson can do. But at least they seem to have a GM and a head coach with a plan. The Lions, we talked about them. The Jags, we talked about them. The Bears are rated at 28. You think that's a little low for them?
I do. I think that Justin Fields is a winner, and I think he's going to be exponentially better in year 2. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Buckeye homer, because I am, and I admit that. But this kid, if I was a guy starting a team and I needed one dude to help my team, come out of the creeps of the depths of the NFL, I mean, this is a kid I would count on, and I trust him. And I think that the Bears are, they've got a lot of holes, but I do feel like they're going to be better than advertised, and I would definitely take them over the Jets, because I'll take him over Zach Wilson any day.
Well, and they're only rated one spot ahead of the Giants, who we know are in reshuffling the deck. So
they seem to have been doing that every year since Tom Coughlin left.
Yeah, exactly. And then the Panthers we talked about, the Falcons we talked about, and the Texans. So basically, the list is the few that seem to be I don't want to say controversial, but we move around a little bit. But for right now, before the draft, that looks to be a pretty good presentation of what the NFL is going to be like. The AFC West is going to be tough. The NFC West is going to be tough. The NFC East is going to be the worst division in football, although I think the Cowboys are probably going to be a little bit better than 15th. I mean, they do have some talent on that roster. But there's some teams that are going to be interesting to see the movement that's going to happen, because it seems now at the trade deadline, we're going to see some trades in the NFL where in past years you never see trades.
This is true. And, we're going to have to do this again after the draft. And I think we'll go heavy, obviously, on the draft coming up, because that's going to be crucial for all these teams. I mean, I think some of these signings have slowed down. Some of these veterans are still out there and will get signed. But I think a lot of them are kind of put on hold right now. I think a lot of GMs are like, hey, we're interested in your guy, talking to these agents, but we're going to see if we can get this other guy in the first round. If we don't get him, we'll call you and then we'll have you on speed dial. But right now we're trying to get younger, and we're going to look in the draft. So I think some of these veterans will get signed. Lots and lots of one-year contracts out there right now.
All right. Before we sign off, we got the Final Four this weekend. The Blue Bloods are heading to New Orleans for tomorrow for a Friday warm-up show. Your Dukies are going to be there against North Carolina. Never faced each other in an NCAA tournament before. I think I'll tell you, even though a lot of people were rooting for St. Peter's last week, and I talked before coming on the air. I don't know how Carolina's going to be coming off that easy win. Usually, I like seeing a team have to struggle in the regional finals, but it's going to be interesting, and it couldn't ask for a better matchup for TV ratings.
Yeah, Kansas, Nova, UNC, Duke. I mean, that's 4 teams that if you like basketball, you're going to like to see it. I feel good about the Dukies right now. I mean, we're playing better defense. That's what really, offense has not been a problem all year. We've got 4 or 5 guys that can score the basketball at nauseum. The problem has been, getting stops. And we've gotten better at that. And it helps having one of the greatest college shot blockers I've ever seen in Mark Williams down there. I mean, this guy gets no credit just because of the team that he's on. I mean, he's got 4 other 5-stars around him. But you got to remember, this guy's a 5-star too, and he averages a double-double. So, if anybody can be a difference maker in this game, it's big man Mark Williams. And, I can see him being the difference when it comes down to it.
And then in the other Nova against Kansas, I'll be rooting for Nova, but I just had Kansas is beginning to scare me.
Yeah, I'm a little bit higher on Nova than you are. I mean, I know they've got the injury right now, and that kind of scares me a little bit. Having one of their guys be down right now, that concerns me. But you got to be liking the way that the rest of the team is playing. I mean, Gillespie has really stepped up his game. Samuels is playing well. Brandon Slater is stepping it up on defense. And the question's going to be, can they keep up scoring wise with Kansas? And I think they can.
How about the Kansas big man? How about the Kansas big man in the middle?
He's played a lot better in this tournament than I expected him to. I think I got to be honest. I didn't give Kansas a shot to make it as far as they have. DeJuan Harris has played good. Igbaji's played good. Remy Martin has really, really stepped it up in this tournament. And, the big guys played good too. David McCormick.
Yeah.
So I think, if ever this is going to be a year that Kansas can win, I think this is one of them. But they got a tough test in the Final Four, and they got to get by Kansas before they can win a title, and that's going to be a tough task.
Well, I'm never really a big Bill Self fan. Not one of my favorite coaches. So.
No, I like Jay Wright. I'm going Nova on this.
Yeah, I'm going to be rooting for Jay Wright. I'm going to be rooting for Nova. So we'll see what happens. What's your pick?
Yeah, I'm going to go Duke, and I'm going to go Kansas. So I think that's going to be the final. And, I hope that I'm right. If Duke loses, you may not see me next week because I might jump off the roof of this building because I care way too much. But I did think it was interesting, and something that I thought we might like to note is that St. Peter's coach was hired at Seton Hall yesterday. So Holloway has that big run, talks about how much he loves his guys, and then takes the money the next day.
Well, I got to defend him. I mean,
he played for Seton Hall, I know, but
he's never been there before. But my criticism is that much as the NFL used to do, the NCAA should put a moratorium during the tournament about hiring, firing coaches, or hiring, because the worst thing that happens is these poor kids at St. Peter's are making a big run. Kevin Willard announces he's going to Maryland. All during the run, it was, Holloway's leaving. It just takes it away from what it's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about the kids. It's supposed to be about the kids making their run. And I just thought that was just terrible that they had to just overshadow what was a great run for them. I mean, St. Peter's, the last time they made a run like this was 67 in the NIT. I mean, it's just amazing. And, God bless him. He's going on to Seton Hall. But, one thing I will say about Seton Hall, it's great. It's his job. But it's not that big a step up from the MAC. As far as the Big East goes, you're not at Nova, you're not at Connecticut. You know, there are bigger jobs in the Big East. So we'll see. We'll see how it helps.
What do you think about the Kevin Willard hire? For example, I mean, let's talk. I mean, this year, decent job, 21-11 at Seton Hall, but the year before they were 14-13. 20-14 the year previous to that, 22-12, 21-12. I mean, he's had some decent seasons, but it's not like they've been just dominating the Big East because they haven't.
Seton Hall is one of those places that's a tough recruit. It was a tough recruit when PJ Carlissimo was there. It's been a tough. It's a small South Jersey South Orange Jersey campus. Not the most attractive place to go. The proximity to New York City is pretty cool, but I mean, they don't have the biggest programs. They don't have the biggest gyms. They're always going to be overshadowed by Nova down south in Philadelphia. And they're just not thought of as a big program. How long does it? I live in this area, and how long does it take for people to be talking about Seton Hall?
Yeah, I just don't know if that's where I would have gone if I'm Maryland, trying to get back on top with the one sports program in my entire school that's ever had success. That's just not where I would have gone. Is all I'm saying.
We both agreed that Maryland made the stupid move of going to the Big Ten, which made no sense, and they're stuck there.
Yeah, and now apparently they don't care if they even win in basketball anymore. So,
well, I mean, I think honestly, I think if they could have wrenched Pitino to go down there, he might have gone with that. But I agree with you. I mean, with Maryland, I guess Maryland's kind of lost. You don't have to fear the turtle there. Testudo is done.
Yeah, well, I ain't fearing them with this coaching move. I mean, I thought they were going to go out and make a big splash higher, and that's not the direction I would have gone.
Yeah, and we're going to see what happens. I don't know if you saw the page. I think it's Buckler or the star of UConn got her first deal. She got signed to a big licensing deal.
Oh, the NIL?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did see that.
So now the girls are starting to get it. I mean, you were talking about the kid at Tennessee. That's the one thing when we were talking coming on the air about, how the craziness of the money now. How much say are the boosters going to have and how these programs are run?
Yeah, quite a bit. I mean, that's pretty much what it's coming down to with a lot of these decisions on where these kids are going. It's supposed to be that you can't pay these kids to go to the schools, but that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be, it was set up to be a vehicle where the kids can make some money while they're playing. But what it's turning into is how can we pay these kids to make them go where we want them to go?
Exactly.
And instead of it being a vehicle to pay the kids while they're playing, it's being used as a payment tool for recruiting, which was exactly what they didn't want to do.
But we all knew that's what was going to happen.
Yeah, we said that.
It's been happening under the table for years. Now you just gave them a license to throw the money on the table.
Yeah, and then with the NCAA dropping the ball, now there's no governing body having any control over it. So it's just going to get worse.
Oh, it is. It's going to be. And the whole thing is with these kids, how hungry are they going to be? Really? Maybe they'll stay in school longer. I don't know, but who knows? But anyways, looking forward to the Final Four this weekend, and we'll see what happens. And we'll be back to talk about football next week. What's on man coverage?
We're going to be breaking down the draft this weekend. We're going to be doing some spring practice evaluations and also getting after it with some additional draft coverage. So tune in Sunday morning.
You got it. Have a great weekend with your family. I hear we're going to get some storms up here tonight, so we might have a little light show coming through my windows at about midnight tonight. Hope I can sleep.
Yeah, we had one last night, and it turned into a fire down here in the mountains because we had 50 to 60 mile an hour winds, and somebody decided to throw a match outside, I guess, and now half the damn mountains are on fire. So,
holy Christ!
Nice.
Well, that's what we're getting tonight. They were talking winds and lightning, so
it
should be an interesting night. So, anyways,
have fun.
My friend, have a good weekend. Enjoy the basketball, and we'll be back next week.
Sounds good, buddy. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.